I'm just going to add us to the stream. Hi, there we go. We're live. Right then, let me introduce you very, very briefly, and then you can chat away about what you're doing. So, everyone, this is Cabrini. Cabrini is a fashion designer. I've known her for many years, but it's so exciting to kind of reunite with her here today. We're going to talk about where she got to where she is. You've kind of come a long way, haven't you? You've got this journey in such a short amount of time. You've done so many things. So we're going to talk about your collection. Cabrini was in vogue. I mean, we want to hear about that. When London Fashion Week, so many exciting things. So hopefully we're going to inspire, well, I know we are, many of our students and future students to, because you were one of those students who were saying to me, I want to be a fashion designer.
Yeah.
And there you are now a fashion designer. So we are going to kick off by just saying you did a GCSE all those years ago, what we're talking 8 years ago now. And you said this was what you wanted. You wanted to go into fashion. So what was your journey, Cabrini? What happened? Because you were a kind of star student, weren't you? Even at GCSE, you're going to be very modest, but you were a superstar even back then. And you wanted to be go into fashion. So you went on to college. And where did you start to specialize then? Like, were you doing pattern cutting even from that young age? Were you learning that then?
So basically, straight after GCSE, I went on to do a fashion and clothing BTEC in college, and I did that for 2 years. So yeah, that's how I kind of learned the basics of pattern cutting, and I got into it. So it was actually really helpful because actually that course, I'm actually very thankful for that course, because if I wasn't for that, I wouldn't have gone into uni knowing the basics already.
Okay.
And then I went on to do art foundation at University of Arts in Fashion and Textiles Pathway.
So I was going to ask about that actually, because I didn't know if you did that, because we teach that here at OCAD. So we do kind of the GCSE and the foundation. I find a really important transition period. Did you find that course really set you up for uni? Because I did a foundation, and it really kind of it really sets you up, because I wasn't quite sure. And obviously you went to London College of Fashion, so that's big. I mean, that's a very prestigious uni. So did foundation set you up for that?
Yeah, foundation was a lot more freer. So when you're coming from BTEC, it's a lot like it's not very contemporary, I guess. So when it's about research, everything, but when it comes to foundation, you actually are so free. You find so many different. I found my kind of aesthetic there. So I found like how I like to illustrate. I found how I like to piece my sketchbooks together. So yeah, if it wasn't for that course, I would have really struggled in like the design aspect.
Yeah, I see.
So yeah.
Was it quite a vigorous process? Sorry, when you went to the interviews? Because I imagine to get into a uni like that, they really wanted to see your stuff and had to meet you. Yeah, was it quite? Did you find it tough?
Yeah, it was quite tough. I actually didn't get in from GCSE. That's why I had to do foundation, because they prefer with things like LCF, they prefer you to have a foundation, because sometimes it's you'll be lucky, or if they take you on from like straight from an A level.
I found the same.
They want you to have the extra qualification to know, this is how you're able to work and stuff like that. So first you submit online. So you submit an online application, and if they like your online, what you send them online, they'll ask you for an interview. So it was a 2 process. So I was so excited when I got through the online one.
You must have been thrilled. Oh my goodness. So London College of Fashion, and that obviously set you up and launched you. And not long after, you're in vogue as a top newcomer. I mean, that's amazing.
If it wasn't for LCF, I don't think I probably would have had that platform. Straight after graduation, a year after, I managed to create a collection, managed to show it at London Fashion Week, and then it was I was handpicked by Vogue to be on their designer profile. So it was a because it was just straight after graduate. It was like a year after graduation. I was like, okay, I'm gonna start up a brand now. I thought it was something I'd be doing like maybe in 5 years, but I was like, you know what, let's just create a collection. I designed it, I sewed it up, and then I ended up showing it, and I ended up getting like
amazing.
So yeah.
That's incredible. It's so cool. But you know, it is the university that you go to, and obviously they launched you, but it's serious hard work as well, Cabrini. You are a talented designer, and I just want you to obviously talk about your influences, because to make something unique, I think it also has to be personal. And so you know, you talk about on your website your roots and where you kind of bring your inspiration from. So talk us through that process. I mean, was it kind of trend setting? Did you have to follow something, or did you kind of ignore the trends and think, no, this is me, this is my roots, this is my inspiration? I mean, what's your journey?
For me, because I kind of found my aesthetic and kind of where I want to head my brand when I was doing my final collection at uni. So that's when I was like, oh, okay, like I really want to put my roots in. Like I grew up in England, but actually my ethnicity is Filipino, and I'm like, I really want to mix those two together and see where it heads. And I love it. That's how I design to this day. I love getting inspiration from my Filipino culture, but bringing in that Western fashion, that Western kind of how I would wear it. So I think it's something that you really have to see, like, what are you really passionate about, and what is something that really inspires you. And for me, what really inspires me is just looking back at both my cultures and thinking, where do I love the middle of it? Where do I love the boundaries of it? Like I love tailoring, so like part of my collection is tailoring, and I love silk as well and satin. So my SS 20 collection was satin and silk. No, satin as well as suiting. So I think it's really just finding the boundaries of what you love, mixing with what inspires you. So, and I love designing. To be honest, I love designing of what I would wear personally. Like I also love creating like also like an imaginary icon from my head, like an imaginary person I designed for her. So I think of her as like she's a modern Filipina living in the city in London, and she's working, and what would her wardrobe look like? That's how I love design. I love designing, like what would she wear on like her work days? What would she wear when she's going out for a coffee? What would she wear when she's going to the shops, like, or to dinner? Stuff like that. I love design. So I just love really just creating that imagination in my head and design.
Incredible. It's so cool. But you obviously learned those skills, tailoring especially, and obviously the technical stuff at uni, and foundation obviously set you up for that. And you mentioned college, you started pattern cutting. So what a start that was. That was straight after GCSE. But if I remember all the way back to GCSE, that very initial stage of creating and being free and, you know, having... Did you do art as well? I mean, was art one of your GCSEs as well? Because you did obviously textiles, so that was obviously a lot of working with fabrics. But your art must have really helped as well, because the way you talk about where you get your inspiration from, surely that skill starts right back from when you were doing your art. Yeah. Did you find your drawing and things like that has helped you?
Yeah, definitely. Because when I was doing GCSE, I was very creative in art. I loved art, so that was how I was bringing in concept. And then when I did my BTEC, we actually did like live drawing, stuff like that. And then with my art foundation, it's very artsy. Like actually, when it comes to fashion and fashion design, so much part of it is art. It's basically a walking art. Like that's how I look at it, and my garments. And I think that's people have like different aspects of what they're it can be like a painting, it can be like a ceramics, but everything is art. And fashion for me is art because it's just like a masterpiece for me. So it's like actually a massive part of it is art, because you've got to get that idea and then put it to pattern cutting, and then put it to
your training and your journey literally has started right from the beginning. Everything has kind of led into the next stage, hasn't it, all the way through? No, it's amazing. You've done, because you worked hard as well though, so it is nice to have these opportunities, but obviously you put the time in. You put the time in when I knew you, and I'm sure to be where you are now is obviously down to a lot of commitment, a lot of passion, a lot of sweat and tears, I'm sure, went into these collections. I think I read on one of your interviews that you were asked to do London Fashion Week like a fortnight or something.
Yeah, I was asked to do that, and I was like, okay. I just got back from the Philippines, and I was like, oh, do you want to take part? And I was like, I have to design a whole collection. Like,
oh my goodness. You'll have to show us, go on, because you talk about these amazing fabrics and these amazing silhouettes, and honestly, the work is beautiful. I'm going to put up just your website here, which you can share with us in a minute. But feel free to show us some of your garments. I know you've got something there.
So I've got this garment here. So this is probably one of my most popular garment, and it's basically. Sorry, it's not ironed today. So this is inspired by, again, it's like a jacket, but top, and it's got this bralette feature on the front, and I'll show you on the catwalk. And it's got these Filipiniana sleeves. So this is what inspired me. It's like these big Filipiniana sleeves. So I love the big sleeves, and that's on the side like that. Like that.
Like this takes hours, surely. I mean, you mentioned you have to hand pleat that. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yes, I have to hand pleat all of this at the bottom. I have to hand pleat that before I sew it all together. So actually, that garment takes about 3 days, a full 3 days. Yeah.
So how do designers do it then? Like if you see, you kind of see them in Vogue and stuff. They have a team, I imagine. When you get to that level, what you oversee people then helping you make these.
So basically with designers, they would have a team. So they will normally have a pattern cutter, they would normally have a seamstress, and they would have one of them. So you would actually just be the designer designing them. You can get some designers very full on who does all of them or does the designing and making. It really depends. When I interned for Osman, it was the Osman Fashion House. It was he would design, and then he would give it to a pattern cutter, and then after pattern cutter done it, you'd sample it, and then you go into fittings, and then the seamstresses would sew it up. So
but at the moment you're doing this whole process, are you? You're at that stage. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I'm doing it all myself right now. So but to be honest with you, it's amazing to be able to do it myself. I'm very hands-on, and as an independent designer, as an independent brand, obviously you do have to do it all, but you learn so many new things, and you're always evolving, and I love having full control of my brand right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love being.
You'll have to share it. Have you got your site there? If you get it, I'll screen share, and you can
so this
we can see this online. Let's add this. There we go. Wow, there it is on the catwalk. So this is London Fashion Week.
Yeah, this is London Fashion Week. And that's it there on the catwalk.
Amazing.
And this is it when this is for a fashion shoot that we did.
Okay.
So this is a fashion shoot that we did in like an old laundrette in London.
Yeah.
We did a whole editorial for it. So that's a jacket episode. And
amazing. So obviously people can buy these now. I mean, you can go to your website, and obviously you're going to handmade them. I mean, it's just incredible. You've come a long way, because you're still very young. And obviously, what's your next step now? I mean, do you look for shops? You kind of get the money together. I mean, with COVID and stuff, I'm sure you were saying things have slowed down. You can't even get fabrics, you were saying.
When COVID, so I started my brand about last year, but I fully launched it, which means that people can actually purchase my items February. And COVID happened in March.
Straight on it.
I didn't have enough time to pre-order fabrics, and my supplies and everything was shut. Everything was lockdown. So it's
really hard businesses, hasn't it, including yours, and obviously designers starting out at this crucial time. Goodness me.
It's a tough time, but I think also it's a really good time, because you can then have a look and like I started designing during this time, and I was like, I've been so busy starting up my brand. I've been so busy doing other things that I forgot that creative side of me. Like I've been doing the business,
so you've been able to reflect, and are you getting your collections ready now then?
Yeah. So I've just been redesigning for another drop that I can do about early next year. So I'm like taking it as a positive. Like even though it's taking a toll on my business, I could on my brand, I couldn't open
Not
it.
going to stop. Absolutely, you got to keep going.
I've been actually going back to being creative and being able to design and being able to have again like sample one of my garments, so ready for my next drop. So it has been, I think you just got to kind of look at the positive side. I mean, it has been hard for designers, but at the same time, just go look at it like, okay, let's use this time wisely instead of just
absolutely. It's an inspiration, Cabrini, honestly, because many people would, are feeling really down, and it is a tough time, but it is a creative time also, as you say, and maybe this time to calm down and take your time to work on collections. We're going to be looking closely and watching your launch next year, I'm sure. I can't wait. So I've got some students. I've got Freya, lovely Freya. Do you think that attending the London College of Fashion was essential? I mean, we've kind of touched on that obviously they've launched you and they taught you some really crucial skills. But what would happen for students who are not thinking of uni? It's going to be tougher, do you think? What's your opinion on going to uni?
Going to uni or just
I suppose doing that next level course of education to get to where you are. I think it might be hard for fashion designers without that competitive, experience.
Personally, I think that it's possible as well. If you don't want to go to university, if it's something that you don't want to go to, it is possible because you could just intern, do online courses to kind of gain that skill. But obviously going to uni does have that on your back, does that have that like, this designer is kind of, she came from here, this is where she's come from. It kind of has that, like, in a way makes you a bit more reliable in a way. Does that make sense? Brand a little bit. So when you design, you have more of that trust. That's it. You'll have more of that trust. But personally, I don't think if you want to skip it, like I've known some friends as well who literally work in fashion, but then they work in fashion and they just made their way up. They just interned up. So you can do it that way as well. It's possible. You can just learn the skills online. There's so many courses out there that you could do. But for me, if I could go back, I probably would go do uni. I would still do uni.
Yeah, I see. Nice advice, because we had a stop motion not stop motion. We had a top animator. We were talking on the chat, and even she was the same. She was an intern and she started by working into a company and is now this top animator. So it is possible. You're absolutely right. There are lots of opportunities out there. And even I'll tell everyone watching that, Cabrini, you're doing fashion cutting, pattern cutting, aren't you, as courses? That's kind of an add-on venture of yours. So people can find the experts out there and learn those kind of technical skills, can't they? Online and in other ways.
So many skills online, especially now, like with COVID going on, a lot of people are turning online, and a lot of people are, schools are online now. So basically, there's so many online courses. It is possible if you don't want to go to uni and you don't. That's right for you, because it depends. Some people, it's not for them. And what's it called? You can do so many. You can just intern, like I said, and do courses out there. There's a lot.
There's a lot.
The basics, and I like to say as well, once you know the basics of it, it's kind of just self-taught as well. Like we were at uni, we were getting taught, but you just taught yourself as well. You developed that idea, you developed that skill. So
was it a lot of trial and error for you? Were you doing a lot of samples? I imagine.
Definitely, a lot of samples, a lot of trial and error. So even if you were at uni or weren't at uni, it is just like developing that skill, knowing the basics and knowing how to develop that skill.
Yes, great advice, amazing. She also asks, we kind of covered this, but what age did you know you wanted to fashion? I mean, I knew you were 11, 12. We're talking key stage 3, Cabrini, do something in fashion. But was it always that dream, or was it just something creative, or was fashion the thing for you?
It was the thing for me. I started designing when I was 9. I knew I wanted to do it when I was 9. sketchbooks up in my attic, like of when I was 9 years old. I just loved it. I just love being able to draw. I love drawing as a child. And I'm
Okay.
Clothes. So I was like, oh, like that.
I think if you're enjoying it, right, you're going to go into it. You kind of need to follow your passion and what you love doing, and then your journey will kind of just evolve for you, won't it? As long as you're happy, I think.
Yeah, I think that's passion that you have.
Yeah, this is probably going to fit into the last question she's got for us. What tips would you give young people wanting to start a career in textiles? You've kind of covered it, but is there anything else you can think of, thinking back to where you were at? What tips would you give youngsters? Just enjoy it, keep going, sample, practice.
I would definitely say practice. I got a sewing machine when I was 13, and I already started sewing at that point. I sewed, but don't do this. This is not my advice, but I sewed it from a curtain.
Yeah.
So, don't do that. But I mean, like, honestly, just keep sampling and keep developing that skill. And if you want to be a designer, keep drawing, keep drawing, keep again developing that skill. And then if you and then you can, there's so many tutorials out there to watch how to sew. So before you go into study fashion design or something, you already know that basics. I think if I could go back, I would definitely say more knowledge and more knowing the basics of everything. Does that make sense? Like the foundation of everything. That's what I would. Like, after you've known like the foundation of everything, it's so easy to develop that skill. So my advice is keep going. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. There's so many times that you want to give up, but it's going to be worth it, because at the end of the day, you're doing something that you love. What else would you want to be doing unless it's something you love? So
you're enjoying it. You have definitely always enjoyed it, and you took it in your stride. I mean, there are the deadlines and the tough times. I mean, it happens to all of us. And I remember my fashion degree as well, and it was very the critiques were very hard. You had to be quite resilient. I mean, you must have had an even tougher time being in London College of Fashion. There must have been times where you were in those critiques thinking, oh my gosh, this is tough.
I get it was with critiques. I guess it's like probably with any university, but with my one, it was like you bring something in and they'd be like, okay, I don't want this, I don't want that. So you'd have to come in again with a whole different idea or something. And it was very hard.
Resilient.
But at the same time, it's good, because who else is going to tell you to do better?
It's challenging you, isn't it? It's pushing your boundaries and challenging your understanding and knowledge all the time. So we kind of do that as well, but it's very hard for students. If you remember back at GCSE, at that level and foundation, when you get one of your first critiques, it's very personal. Art is very you put a lot of time into it, and then for someone to say, oh, that's not quite right, I think it's a tough skill to learn.
Interpretation of it. So everyone's going to have the same idea or same interpretation of things. So when it's your idea and you're like, yes, I'm so passionate about this, and then your tutor says, no, I mean that's I'm not. Can you not see my idea? But at the end of the day,
it's how you express it, though. I think, and I think the fact that you did have your Filipino roots to really, drive your creations forward. I think it's important, because you have to keep that personal element, whether people like it or not. That's subjective, isn't it? It's your take on everything at the end of the day. And they've obviously done well, because you've got this collection. You can make all your own garments. I mean, it's an incredible skill that you've developed in a short time. Well, Cabrini, it's been so lovely talking to you live. I hope we touch base again and we see your next collections coming up next time, and people can check out your website, check out your pattern cutting that you've got coming up. That would be so amazing for people to learn from experts like you. Just amazing. We're OCAD, as I was mentioning to Cabrini earlier. There's my email. So we're OCAD. We're an online college of art and design, and we kind of teach all these different courses and get students into their specialisms, and fashion being one of them. And many of our students just love fashion. I mean, they do, don't they? It's such an interesting subject. It's an expression of you, and as you say, it's art. It's art on the catwalk, and you get to wear art, and it's a very exciting career. So thanks for chatting to us. I'm sure you've inspired lots of our students and future students with this. And yeah, we will talk again, I am sure, and students will be in touch. And
definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Just ask me any questions. If you have any, you can just email me if you have any more questions or anything like that.
Thank you, Cabrini.
Thank you so much.
All right then. Well, lovely talking to you. We'll be in touch again, Cabrini. Thank you, and thanks for talking to us at OCAD. Bye for now. We'll see you soon. Bye, Cabrini. Bye-bye.